Good morning. So like Ren said, I got to spend 8 weeks in India doing a mission trip this summer. India, 1.2 billion people, 29 states, 1,652 languages. The South is different from the North, and each individual state has its own food and culture and makes it so unique. So when I was asked to speak, I wasn't quite sure where to start. There were quite a few places I could go. So this morning I thought I would share about one woman I got to know. Her name was Jayanti. While I was in Chennai, she was the neighbor of the family I was staying with. She was best friends with Prabha, my Indian host mother, and she would come over almost every day, any hour of the day, to talk with Prabha, make food, or bring food over to the house. And for some reason, Jayanti really took a liking to me, specifically from the first day that I got to India. I knew when I would be in my room in the house and I heard her voice, that as soon as I came out and I saw her, I was going to be offered something to eat, and my cheeks were going to be sore from her pinching them. She made comments about how I was too skinny and she was going to cook for me to fatten me up. She was like the Indian grandmother you always wanted. I remember one night when she decided to make us a special dinner, and special in India means spicy. She brought over a big bowl of rice for the family and for us Americans, and she served all of us, which is something else to be careful of in India because you can't control the portion size. So all of us Americans sat there around the table with a big mound of rice in front of us. The spice was already burning the inside of our nostrils, and we were praying to God to help us get through this one. There we heard the words, "Eat, eat," and knew our time had come. With our lips on fire, sweat dripping down our faces, and our mouth numb from the spice, we kept pushing through and smiling at Jayanti the whole time. To give myself some credibility for this meal, we were in the middle of eating, and Jayanti left the room, and Prabha turned to us and said, "Now that's hot, even for Indians." And these are people who can eat straight chili peppers with no problem. She advised us to get rid of as much as possible before Jayanti came back in the room. Let me just say that some brave taste buds were lost that day. But we were so thankful that she made us a meal and showed us her love. Now I want to give you a side note about Indian culture, and if you're ever in India, this will get you through just about anything. It's called the head bobble, and it looks like this. And it's a gesture that Indians use to answer questions. And it can mean yes, or no, or I don't know. And it's usually followed by, okay, okay, okay. So I found that whenever I didn't understand something, the best thing to do is just start bobbling, okay, okay, okay. And this came in handy because it was the easiest way to make sure that we weren't offending anyone, because it could mean yes or no. But back to Jayanti, one day Prabha had taken me to do an interview with her in the morning to hear her testimony of faith. She was so thankful that I had taken the time to hear her story. She wanted to bring me specifically some food for a gift. I waited by myself in the house as everyone else left to do errands. Now when she finally came over, this was the first time we had actually been alone together. We usually had someone translating between us and telling us what we were saying, because she spoke no English at all. She put the fruit in front of me and watched me eat. Then she tried starting to tell me something, and she was pointing at the food and then speaking in Tamil, then at me, and I think she was trying to describe something about the food, but then she pointed at the door, so I wasn't really sure what she was saying, and I tried saying yes and eating more food, but that started getting her frustrated because we weren't understanding each other. So at this point, I didn't know what else to do except, okay, okay, okay. And it worked because she started smiling, and we were okay from then on, and she started bobbling back at me. But Jayanti showed me something that day. She showed me how little I understood about India. In that moment, without English, with something as simple as a direction with food, I was never going to be able to understand her. It just revealed how big of a culture gap there was between me and her, and how big of a culture gap there is between me and India. India is on the other side of the world, and almost everything about their culture is different and opposite for us. I spent the past 8 weeks trying to understand and ask questions and learn everything I could. But I can honestly say, the more I knew, the less I understood. It's so complex and built on years of history that I could live there my entire life and know little about in the end. And with Jayanthi, even though I never knew what she was trying to tell me, because later I learned she was trying to tell me about how to cook the food, I understood that the food showed how thankful she was, that I listened to her testimony, and she knew I enjoyed it and I was thankful, and we could smile and boggle about it. I had a friend this summer say that language is nothing and love is everything. And I saw that true love comes from God this summer. I saw that Jesus crosses cultural barriers, and he helps us to do the same. I saw that God doesn't see country border lines, and he isn't hindered by language differences. And that only through him that I was able to cross these cultural gaps as well. And I got to learn a lot about India. So thank you very much.